Greetings, classmates. This week I continue to try and define a framework for experimental history. Most of the search results I've come across with experimental history apply to Bacon's natural history, so they're not particularly relevant to this framework. For this week's search assignment, I decided to take a different tack and a closer look at the framework for experimental archaeology and archaeology in general. The idea behind this decision is to try and separate the defining processes of experimental archaeology and supporting interdisciplinary fields, including historical research. The Muse search provided a listing for the article Printing the Past, Building Accessibility and Engagement through 3D Technologies. The article wasn't available through Muse, but I'm a member of the National Council on Public History, so I downloaded the article from the journal site. Incorporating 3D tools like 3D modeling and printing are important tools, and they're really good resources for access and for education. And I definitely see these tools as relevant to historical research, public history, and experimental history, as well as pedagogy. The Oxford search provided an article from Historical Research, the journal of the Institute of Historical Research in the UK. The article, The Sea and Archaeology, is of course on maritime archaeology. Maritime archaeology has contributed more to the subfield of experimental archaeology than any other subfield. It's inspired the building of historically accurate vessels and then sailing those vessels across oceans, down the Nile, the Yellow River, and the Amazon. It's inspired the continuing efforts to reproduce the Antikythera mechanism using period handmade tools and period techniques. I think the whole idea of study it at length, build it, and see if it works has been around for millennia. Inventors and innovators have used this model for centuries, but its application in historical pursuits seems to be rooted in maritime archaeology, and it's been expressed through experimental archaeology. Two other articles I think will contribute to my research are Speculation-Made Material, Experimental Archaeology and Maker Knowledge, two topics very dear to my heart, and Drone-Acquired Shortwave Infrared Imagery in Landscape Archaeology, an Experimental Approach. I'm a licensed drone pilot, and I'm currently seeking to secure funding to acquire multispectral camera payloads and appropriate drone platforms to support some of the museum's upcoming projects. Geospatial and mapping are definitely also important to historical research. Like experimental archaeology, experimental history would have to be an interdisciplinary venture. At least that much is clear at present. Thank you for taking the time to view my presentation.